fun. Yeah, I'm very excited about that. So let's welcome our guest today, LeAnne Moss. LeAnne I'm very privileged to know you, just adore you. We've done a little bit of work together. And you're with Women's Funding Alliance. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Women's Funding Alliance?
Well, I've never described us this way before, but we're probably like a boot camp for opportunities for women and girls.
Wow.
Just to tie it into the topic of the day.
Yeah.
But we provide funding to nonprofit organizations working with women and girls issues all over the Puget Sound region. So issues like poverty, education, health, reproductive rights, safety, domestic violence, all of those issues. And a lot of times we fund organizations that might be smaller or might not be as well known, and also those organizations that are really looking at the root cause of why some of these situations exist for women and girls.
And how did the organization get started?
Well, it's interesting because it got started in a way that really shows the power of women coming together. It was literally about 5 directors of organizations, nonprofit organizations in the early 80s, who were talking about, we need more resources. And at that time, United Way was not funding some of those topic areas they do now around sexual assault. And so they decided to start the organization as a federation, which is basically like a United Way for women and girls. And our model has changed since then, in that we're more like a typical funder where people write grants to us to get funding, but people can also give to us through their workplace giving campaign. So it really came from the women themselves saying, we see a need, we need other resources for the critical work that we're doing. And so let's just go for it.
Wow. And so besides funding, is there other things? Do you provide kind of training or anything for women?
We do several things. One is for the organizations. We often do convenings or bring them together to learn from each other. I mean, it's fun to be in that dynamic where someone might say, I have a real need for advocacy training for my staff, and someone else will say, I can come help you with that. So we do that. We do kind of informal technical assistance with people, help them if they're applying for granting from us, how to write a proposal, kind of doing a workshop around proposal writing. We also do some more public speaking on their behalf, and we funded, we did a study a couple of years ago called A Closer Look that really took a detailed look at the issues facing women and girls in the Puget Sound region around health and safety and economics, education, and leadership. And so that has been an amazing tool for the grantee partners themselves, as well as other funders, really looking at how do we really know what to fund around women and girls.
Right. So what are you seeing now as probably the largest need, or was there anything surprising off of that survey that you said, oh, we need to focus more efforts here?
Well, it was really interesting, and this was we published it right before the whole economic tailspin, and there were a couple themes even before that came through, and that is that economic issues really underlie so many of the other issues facing women and girls. If someone is in a domestic violence situation, and I've known women personally, as I'm sure a lot of your audience members have known women who have been in these situations, it's so complicated and it's exacerbated if they don't have a way to support themselves. Health issues, are connected to the economic situation. The other big theme was women of color continue to face the most barriers ever. So, for example, while our area, some people might not be aware that we have one of the highest rates of breast cancer in the country in the Seattle area. However, we also have one of the lowest mortality rates because of our great cancer care alliances and things like that. But for women of color, particularly African American women, they have a much, much higher mortality rate. And some of that came out in our interviews and things that we're doing is because of some of the systemic discrimination and experiences in the health, when they go to the doctor and other complicated factors. So we use that information to really help direct some of the funding that we do. And then we also, after we did the research, we gathered people together who had been interviewed and our other constituents to say, what should we focus on? And again, in August of 2008, right before everything tumbled down, we decided to focus half of our granting that we do towards economic opportunity issues over the next 5 years. And so what that means is everything from, helping women start small businesses, because that, if the jobs aren't there, you need to create small businesses, getting women in higher wage jobs, because most of the low wage jobs are filled by women, and asset building, and then policy change. So things like family leave insurance for moms and dads who don't risk losing their job and could still get benefits if they have a child or need to take care of their other family members.
Wow, so I'm excited when we come back because I want to talk a little bit more about pay and entrepreneurship, because those are near and dear to my heart, and I think our listeners as well. But we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking more with LeAnne Moss of Women's Funding Alliance. You're listening to Kim Ariano on KKNW AM 1150. This is the Walk the Talk with Kim show.